Yes, I'm here. Are you here? Good morning. There's fresh coffee in the back. We're going to talk about data. It's going to be exciting. Get some coffee, honestly. I don't know why Susie does this. I appreciate you having me back. Thank you. Thank you. So this is my first wellness summit. I have been to a few of the spa summits. But she's like, yeah, and then we party hard, and then Jan talks about data. I'm like, really? Is that really what I do? OK, so hopefully you find this slightly entertaining and invigorating, maybe. And hopefully it wakes you up, so you have a good day ahead. So I have about 18 minutes or so. Susie asked me to speak about the hotel perspective. You could put up my slides, please. So living a well life, the hotel perspective. And so I have two disclaimers. Number one is it is impossible to do this in 18 minutes. So, and she said, oh yeah, by the way, you have 10 slides. That is, like, for me, I'm a data guy, slide dude. Like, this is exactly not happening. So I have 10 slides, but just know that I'm kind of scratching the surface. And number two is if you're in the hotel industry, and I don't use your name as an example, I'm sorry, I know you're awesome. You truly are. I just didn't have a chance to put your company into my presentation. So sorry about that, but you're really, really cool. You didn't make the cut. So let me build a little bit of credibility really quick. So most of you probably don't know what STR does. We are the premier provider of hotel benchmarking services. If I may present the center of the hotel industry benchmarking universe, Hendersonville, Tennessee, y'all, which is where we are based, global headquarters, right there, right outside Nashville. What do we do? We are the report card for the global and the US hotel industry. So every week, hotels, every branded hotel in the US, every unbranded, very nice, super awesome, like this property, tell us how they do. And most of the major global brands as well. We get the individual property data, and then we roll it up and make market data, and then we sell that then back to the hotel. So the hotel knows, here's how I did, here's how the market did, I did better or worse. So that's basically, in a very short nutshell, what STR does. But because we do this data benchmarking, that gives us access to a database of hotels. And we use this pretty comprehensive database of hotels for all sorts of purposes. Every other year, we work with the American Hotel and Lodging Association and do a survey of amenities. And we're sending out a survey of 105 yes-no questions, basically. Do you have X, Y, Z? So when you ask me, can you talk about wellness? I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So, but in the hotel space, it probably means, do you have a gym? Right? So we're like, OK, we can count gyms. So we have done this survey, as you can tell, for a really long time. And what you're seeing here is like, OK, people have increased the number of gyms, and then the number sort of plateaued. And some of you are thinking, excuse me, Jan, that data must be wrong. I've never been to a hotel that didn't have a gym, right? That doesn't make any sense. What kind of hotels are these? And it's like, OK, well, maybe we should slice that data slightly differently. So if you're looking at it by price point, it is true, the nice hotels that you stay in indeed all have a gym. So luxury hotels are this, obviously. Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, sort of types of properties. Upper upscale, what we call, the Westin, the Hilton, the big meeting boxes. Upscale, sort of your Courtyard, your Hampton Inns, your Hilton Garden Inns of the world. And then all the way down to, well, the economy segment, which is basically a Super 8, Motel 6, anything with a number in it, basically. So like the lower end, of the food chain. So a lot of them, only 26% say that they have, exercise equipment. So then I continue to go through that question of amenities, and I'm like, oh, there seems to be an interesting relationship, because one other question that we're asked is, do you allow people to smoke in the room? And the answer for a lot of properties is no, right? You haven't been to a hotel in a long time that says, please smoke in this room, right? It said, please don't smoke, and if you do, we'll charge you $875 or something, So interesting. So what we're looking at here seems to be a relationship. If you're looking at the very high end, there is a gym, and there is indeed no smoking policy in the room. And as you go down the food chain of properties, less involvement in gyms. Why is that? Well, maybe the customers don't want it. Maybe the properties were built, I don't know, 40 years ago, when having a gym was just sort of like a weird thing, and the hotels didn't plan for it. But then you're also looking at that over just close to 60% of the properties on the economy side are saying, we allow smoking in some of our rooms. So I've been thinking about your moonshot, and this idea of how can we get rid of preventable diseases. And to me, the moonshot is not here. Like, we're already on the moon. We're at the breakers, I think the moonshot is here. How can we get, as a hotel industry, to say, hey, we want to allow people to do better for themselves, while at the same time discourage bad behavior, arguably, is what this is. So there are a lot of hotels that are just saying, no, my customers aren't ready for this. Obviously, our amenity survey says that. But I just thought about, the moonshot. Like, we're talking to ourselves here, and we're like, oh, but this is all pretty cool. It's like, yeah, but there's a whole other universe out there, of properties where this isn't going on. So I just thought, food for thought. Switching topics, the other part that obviously when we talk about wellness is, do you have a spa? And so, ta-da, no big surprise, 2/3 of our luxury hotels have a spa. And then you go down the food chain and you're like, Jan, what about the 1% economy? So honestly, I think what happened here is like some front desk clerk filled out the survey and looked out back and they're like, oh, we have a jacuzzi. It's a spa, check. So honestly, I don't think they have a spa. I honestly think it's our spa sits 6 people. So, so on the upper end, it looks like a lot of properties, A, have gyms, B, have spas, And so it's sort of kind of the same. So how do you differentiate in the sea of brands, Because this is what's happening. So Arne Sorensen, in his infinite wisdom, CEO of Marriott, said, hey, I'm building a house of brands with 30 properties, 30 brands. And so I'm supposed to be the expert. I do this all the time. I study this stuff. If you sit me right here, right now, down with a blank piece of paper and say, write down the 30 Marriott brands, I don't think I could. I mean, it is really, really hard, right? So Marriott, this is the house on the left-hand side. These are all Marriott brands today, and they're all trying to differentiate themselves a little bit, partially with wellness. And then I found this other chart on the right-hand side by luxurybranding.com. I thought this was really cool. So they just charted over time, how many more brands are being added to the industry? It's like, holy, whoa! And I'm supposed to know all of these and like talk knowledgeably about whatever they are, and I can't. So how do you differentiate yourself in this sea of brands? And so from the wellness perspective, a couple of companies have done a couple of things. And I want to just briefly talk about from like sort of least expensive to most expensive, how companies are doing that. So on the least expensive side, thank you, Trisha. So this was in your room, right? Stretch bands, branded, everybody can take it home, and then hopefully do it at home. But so I thought, oh, this is cool, right? It's pretty easy and hopefully pretty inexpensive for you, because I'm taking it home. Then Weston said, hey, here's a shoe. Well, here are 2 shoes, go run, and we get the halo of being associated, with a brand that is associated with health, wellness, and fitness. Hilton then said, oh, we don't want our guests to go all the way down the hallway, down the elevator, down to the 3rd floor in the gym. We'll put a gym in their room. They can roll out of bed, like I sometimes do, and you're 5 feet from fitness, which I think is a really interesting idea, right? It's more expensive than that, I can tell you. Hilton does that in a couple of rooms in a couple of properties. I think they're sort of testing the water, testing out the idea. Intercontinental Hotels went all in, and they started a brand and said, hey, you can work out in your room, in every room, and our F&B offerings and all the other offerings are tailored towards the road warrior who doesn't have the time to work out but wants to live a well life. And they call it Even Hotels. And I think there are like 5 or 6 or so in the United States. So that's pretty expensive because you have to convince an owner to build a physical box, to then say, here are the amenities that go into this room, and we put a lot of branding, marketing power behind it for people to say, oh yeah, next time I choose in this sea of brands, this one hotel, because it allows me to, live a well life in and work out in my room. And then on the far right-hand side, probably the most expensive way to do it is Hyatt said, I don't know anything about wellness. Let me buy somebody, right? That's not what they said, but you know what I mean. Like they said, hey, you know, let's Miraval. They seem to have their act together for this specific niche. Let's just grab them. And you saw that they just bought Excel Spa as well. And so there's this halo effect that sort of one, you know, hopefully begets the other. And both customers are saying, oh, you're now affiliated. Great. That makes me even more eager to stay in one of your property. I'm very, very curious to see how Hyatt takes this Miraval brand now and sort of blows it up, you know, globally. So these are some of the ways that you could think about how can hotels, you know, allow their guests to live a well life, from that to buying somebody else. And there are more examples of that. As I said, I didn't have the time to get all of your companies here on these slides. But these are just some examples. Now, I'm taking a slight detour here. I was asked to speak at the first Global Spa Summit when I was a lowly analyst at STR. Professor Tabaki called and said, Jan, Global Spa Summit, Waldorf Astoria, you need to present. And I'm like, Professor, with all due respect, I don't even know how to spell spa. Like, I don't know anything, you know? And she's like, Jan? I'm like, yes, ma'am, because when Mary Tabaki says go, you go. So I went. And I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about? It's like, oh, well, I can count hotels, luxury hotels that have a spa, and luxury hotels that don't have a spa, and I can actually look at their room rate performance. And so I made a slide that has lived in infamy or fame, depending on where you look, in the spa industry globally ever since the first Global Spa Summit. Last night, unprompted, 2 people came up to me and said, hey, hi, so what about that slide you did at the Waldorf? I'm like, wow, you really like that slide. So luckily, I did actually, so here it is. Now, look up from your phones for a minute. Look at me. This is important. What I'm showing you here is luxury hotels with spas, ADR, and without spas, their ADR. What I am not saying is, if you have a spa, you can charge more money. I'm not saying that. Nobody heard that. Everybody took this chart, put it into their pitch deck on page 27 and said, here, Jan from STR says, if you build a spa, you can charge a higher rate. I'm like, no. I don't know. I'm just saying, here's A and here's B. But is it you have a spa and you can charge a higher rate? Or you want to charge a lot of money, you better build a spa. Which is first, chicken and egg? I can make that statement, but nobody heard. Nobody listened. Everybody's just like, here, Jan said, you can charge whatever that is, you know, a lot more money, you know, if you can build a spa. So everybody builds spa. So I'm sorry. And don't. Like, this is not what I'm saying. Don't use my name like that. I mean, you can use the slide, but I think the relationship here is tenuous. You know, I don't know which one came first. So anyhow, here's the slide that you wanted. Enjoy. So. Very briefly, Susie asked me to also say, hey, everybody talks about Airbnb. Can you talk about Airbnb? I'm like, well, sure. I mean, here's what we know about Airbnb. The US hotel, and this is their logo, by the way. I don't know what it presents. We're not going to go there. But you can look it up on Twitter. There's some interesting theories about what that is. Anyhow, so the US hotel industry through August had more rooms available than ever, sold more rooms than ever, has made more rooms revenue than ever, had the highest occupancy, ADR, average daily rate, and RevPAR, revenue per available room, ever. What's the impact of Airbnb? The US hotel industry has sold more rooms than ever, has made more money than ever, has the highest occupancy, ADR, RevPAR ever. What's the impact of Airbnb? I don't know. I can't tell, because we're at record levels. So is there an impact? Yes. What is it? I don't know. So Airbnb doesn't talk to anyone. They once shared their data with one company, with us, and we wrote a beautiful white paper. If you can't sleep tonight, it's awesome. I wrote it myself. It's 13 global markets, the impact of Airbnb, well, not the impact, I'm sorry, the performance of hotels in markets that have a strong Airbnb presence. It's fascinating reading for your next flight. Point is, Airbnb doesn't talk to anyone. We try to get their data. They're like, dude, as long as we're privately held, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm like, all right, fine. So we make up things. But what we make up is basically, they're here to stay. How does this relate to wellness? Well, they're selling a room, right? Bed and a bath. We used to say bed and a bath for $1.50 is an old slogan in the US hotel industry. So what do they not have? Well, they don't have gyms. They don't have restaurants. They don't have anything. It's a bed. And if you're lucky, a bathroom, actually, because sometimes that's shared. So to me, is this really a big threat, to the US or to the global wellness industry, the way we look at it when you look at it from a hotel perspective? I'm like, I don't know. They don't offer any of this. They have trips on their app, so you can book a massage somewhere else, maybe in your hotel, wink, wink, interesting. So, but that's, maybe where it stops. So here's your Airbnb slide. I don't know what to say. I don't think that there's really a big deal. I mean, they're here to stay, and maybe there's an impact on rooms eventually in the next downturn, which hopefully won't come for a while. But other than that, I'm not really sure that there's that much of a threat on the wellness side, on the gym side, on the workout side, on the living the well life, on the hospitality. Lastly, real quick, this to me is the future. Jeremy, I hope I don't steal your thunder. So this, if you don't know what this is Alexa. Hi, Alexa. Owned by Amazon. Wynn Hotels and Resorts put 4,700 of these in 4,700 of their rooms. So the scenario is this. You had an awesome wellness summit, right, till 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And the next morning, you're like, oh, man, I need a yoga class. Hey, Alexa, talk me through sun salutations. Or, man, my meetings were terrible. I need a Zumba class. Hey, Alexa, play me a 12-minute Zumba class because then I got to run to dinner. So this audio-activated artificial intelligent device can do that. But make no mistake, this is a data play. Because obviously, this is owned by Amazon. So I'm saying, oh, man, I want to do sun salutations. And then I go to my Amazon Prime account, to my shopping cart, and it says, hey, we saw that you did yoga. Would you like a new yoga mat? Creepy. But that is exactly what this is about. Yeah, you feel good, and you offer it to your guests, and your guests feel pretty good about it. But make no mistake, there's a lot of data that's being mined, and who owns that data? Those are some really, really interesting questions. I hope that you, if you're the hotelier, put this device in your hotel room, that you own the data. But just be mindful. This is coming, and I think a lot of our guests are going to like it. But the question is, how are you going to use that information? So that was whirlwind 18 minutes of how I think the hotel perspective is on living a well life. I'll be around after class. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great rest of the morning. Thank you.